Arrowhead CEO took some of the blame in what has been happening with the PSN scandal in Helldivers 2, saying, "I do have a part to play. I am not blameless in all of this. It was my decision to disable account linking at launch so that players could play the game. I did not ensure players were aware of the requirement, and we didn't talk about it enough. We knew for about 6 months before launch that it would be mandatory for online PS titles." Now, I want to talk to you guys today about what has been going on in the Helldivers community, as well as a lot of the misinformation surrounding this drama. There's an entire narrative built up that Sony is forcing Helldivers players to sign up with PSN so they can boost their statistics for investors. And the truth of the situation is that that is entirely speculation, yet multiple sources are reporting it as a fact. And ultimately, this is probably a giant mishandling of a situation and a mistake that has now completely blown up in both companies' faces. Also, I will be going over exactly what Sony is to blame for, because it looks extremely horrible on their part as the publisher and distributor of the game. So the CEO of Arrowhead is taking some of the blame in this whole scandal, and I'm gonna be breaking down exactly why all of this is happening. So before Helldivers 2 launched, it was always going to be required to link your PSN to your Steam account to be able to play the game. Now, not only did I just read you the CEO saying this, but it actually was a requirement. If you pre-ordered the game or if you bought the game on day one, all of those players pretty much linked their PSN to their Steam account. But with how viral the game went, there was a mass influx of players, not only crashing the servers, but also causing issues with linking PSN to Steam, which caused Arrowhead to temporarily take this feature down. Now, I will say I got the game a few days or a week after launch. I can't exactly remember when, but it was after the launch. And I wasn't even aware you had to link your account until this entire drama transpired. Honestly, I must have clicked right through it. Usually I just click skip option if I don't have to do something, and I did not know that this was mandatory, but that's just my personal experience. Now, the importance of pointing that out is that everyone is calling this a Sony bait and switch trick to essentially get people who are already playing Helldivers to link Steam accounts to their PSN accounts and boost up their PSN numbers before the financial investor meeting. But that is honestly not the case, because it was always going to be required from launch. They just took it down because there was a technical issue. Now, I will say that may have had an impact on the timing of the announcement, because it has been 3 months from then. But ultimately, that sentence right there for myself is still speculation, and it's not proven to be a fact. Now, another thing to take into account is the reason that Arrowhead do want players to link their PSN to Steam, and it's because it will funnel all the moderation through a single system, again, as stated by the CEO of the company right here. Because game development studios and publishers have a relationship that is not just about funding. Sony has responsibilities as the publisher for Arrowhead Studios to produce and sell the game, as well as handle a lot of the customer support. For example, like when you send in a support ticket. Currently, Arrowhead are the ones handling the massive amounts of support tickets, given they disabled the PSN connection at launch, and if you try to go send in a support ticket for Helldivers right now, it takes you to Arrowhead's website rather than PlayStation. Now, when you lay out these reasons and put it into perspective like this, the reasoning behind this decision, behind both Arrowhead and Sony, are actually legitimate reasons to require this. If you don't want a PSN, then you have every right not to get one. This is also a very common relationship between a game developer and a publisher. And on top of that, dozens of other games require a third-party sign-in and link. However, and this is a big-ass however, there was a complete mishandling of this situation, and given the facts that we have here, what we can say in this situation was caused by both parties. So on Arrowhead, they disabled the PSN link even though they knew it would be required, and they didn't turn it back on for 3 months, and it's not even going to be mandated until the 4th month. And it's worth pointing out that the servers were fixed after about 2 weeks. It's possible they didn't want to turn it back on because they didn't want to cause any friction to all the players joining the game, or they forgot to turn it back on. In my opinion, if the issue and the malfunction was caused by the amount of players trying to join the game, I don't see a reason they didn't turn it back on after about 2 weeks when they fixed the servers as well. However, it is on Sony as the publisher and distributor of the game they allowed sale of this game to countries restricted from PSN access. And it really doesn't look good on Sony's part, retroactively changing their EULA from signing into PSN as optional when playing a PlayStation game on PC to some PlayStation games may require you sign in and link PSN. And they just made this change in the last 2 days while this scandal was taking place. And it's also on Sony for requiring sign-in of PSN to funnel moderation to one source when it is highly unlikely that this is a required thing to be able to do that. There are definitely other games where the publisher takes care of the support system, yet you don't always have to sign up for third-party accounts. And it is also worth throwing Arrowhead's name into this because they also agreed to this deal. It's also worth saying that Arrowhead is actually actively owning up to this. Now, to be fair, we don't know when we'll get a real update on this. They did decide to drop this news over the weekend. Monday is the best to hope for, but in my opinion, given that there's also a benefit to both Arrowhead for players signing up for PSN accounts, that the best case scenario we can see is that players from other countries without PSN not being locked out of their purchase to the game. I genuinely think that they are not going to backtrack on this, given that it was part of their original deal and how they intended the game to be set up in the first place. If they actually made it so that Steam users did not have to sign up for a PSN account at all, I think that that would be a miracle, and I just don't see that happening. So in my opinion, I honestly think it is our best case scenario that everybody who is in a country who purchased this game, who has zero access to PSN, those players should not be required to use PSN. And in my opinion, Arrowhead would let this happen. I think our problem is going to be able to get Sony to allow them to do that. And the main thing that honestly disgusts me is that Sony not making sure the game wasn't available on Steam to any of these countries that didn't allow it in the first place. And also the fact that they retroactively changed the EULA after being called out about it online. It seems like they would rather cover up a mistake than own up to it, but I mean, that one's kind of obvious. Now, at the same time though, I will say that this entire situation, looking at all of this stuff, in my opinion, really isn't a bait and switch to get people to sign up for PSN to appease investors. In my opinion, it was just mistake after mistake after mistake after cover up after mistake. Arrowhead and Sony both messed up here, and it's very unfortunate for the Helldivers community and the game right now. But here's the thing, when you make a mistake in the real world, there are consequences. If you rear end someone because you're looking at your phone while you're driving, you know, you didn't do that maliciously, you made a mistake. But guess what? Your insurance is gonna be the one paying for it and your rates are going up. And unfortunately, it really feels like both of these companies just rear-ended the entire player base. And so they're gonna be the ones who end up paying for it. Now, currently, the negative Steam review count is past 300K negative reviews as the recording of this post, but this is like in the last 2 to 3 days that we've gotten 300K reviews. And I'm pretty sure 24 hours ago, I saw it at about 100K or 150K. So they are definitely paying it for it dearly, at least when it comes to Steam reviews and the amount of players that will end up dropping off because of this. Again, I spoke on this in my last video, but I don't think that the game will die at all. I think a lot of people will get over this, but just from accounts that won't be able to play the game anymore, that would be at least 10% from what I could tell, if not closer to 20%. There are currently more countries where PSN is not enabled compared to ones that are. And like I said, it would just be a miracle if Sony agrees to fully go back on this. So honestly, I'm hoping that the countries who purchase the game but can't get PSN won't get locked out of the game, won't have to get refunded, because even if they do get refunded, let's be real, that honestly sucks that they've wasted a lot of time committing themselves to this community. Nobody was expecting this to happen and nobody really wanted this to happen. And to be honest with you guys, I literally had a laser cannon deep dive planned. I would rather be posting that right now rather than Helldivers 2 drama. So I guess we'll leave it at that. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.